Hello, in today's video I'm going to explain you Unity methods. So to understand Unity methods, let's first create C# script and let's call it episode or tutorial 2. Okay, now when the script is created, just give it 1 second. Okay, here's my script, and now when the script is created, as you can see here, we've got two functions created together with our script. Those two are Unity methods, which are inside MonoBehavior class. Today I will explain you a few more. I will explain those methods for you, and I will also show you a few more methods that will be needed during your game creation. To understand those methods correctly, first, the start is the method that is called only once when the script is initialized. So when your script is active and your object is initialized, then the start function is executed. The update function is executed every frame. Okay, and to show everything more clear, I will show you something like that. Let's write debug that log, and let's write inside start. And here for the update, let's write debug that log that, let's write update. And for script to be working inside Unity, as you probably already know from our first episode, we need to create game object and we need to load our script inside our scene. So to do that, let's just create empty object, game object. Let's reset its position, and as you saw, I just moved script to our tutorial. You can also find your script here, writing tutorial 2. Okay. Okay, so when we press play, inside our console, you can see here the behavior of our debug logs. So our start method was called once when we press start in our function, but our update function is constantly updated many times, as you can see here, every frame update. So the speed of that update depends on your computer. This is very important, that the speed of the update depends on how fast your computer is rendering frames during gameplay. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. But first, I will explain you also awake method and the start method. So those two methods, awake and start, are very similar, but when the game starts, this awake method is executed when the object is initialized, even if the script is turned off. So when the script is not active inside game object. I will show you what it means in a second. And start is executed just before first frame update, but script needs to be active. Okay, so this function will be called, and also all the awake methods are called before any other start method inside the game, so inside the scene. So if you want to load some values before you will execute your start method, the awake method is the place for you. Okay, so let's comment out our debug load for our update, and I will show you how those two scripts work together. I mean the start and awake method. So if I will press play now, as you can see here, awake and the start were called once, but awake method is called before the start method. Awake method will always be called before start method, as I said. Okay, so if I will turn off I will set to not active our tutorial game object inside our scene. If I will press play, nothing will happen in the console. Okay, but if my game object will be set to active, but the script will not be active, if I will press play now, you will see what will happen. Awake is called anyway. So we have our script turned off, but awake method inside our script is called anyway. So you have to understand that, because that might cause some bugs in your games in the future if you will not have it in mind that awake method will be called. Okay, so that's the explanation for the start and awake. So usually I use start method more than I use awake method. So this is the start method is a very good place if you want to call or execute some methods on the start of your script before the first update, or set some values before the first update. Okay, and the first update is what I mean is that this is the update of your frames. So when you initialize your object, or maybe it's better to tell when you will initialize object with active script, so the start method will be called before first frame that is updated during your gameplay. So to visualize that once again, if I will set those two to active, I will uncomment those two, and I will go to Unity and I will press play. As you can see here, the start method was called before update method. Okay, and then update is constantly played. Okay, and I said to you that we have that update is called once per frame, but how often is called depends on the speed of your computer, or how fast your computer is rendering the frames. If you would like to have constant frame updates, you would have to use function called fixed update. So what we are using update for is, for example, when you would like to check if spacebar was pressed to create a jump for the player. But to calculate how your player was jumping, or how high, or what force should be implemented for your player to jump, should be called in fixed update. So here you listen for the spacebar, and here you are calculating the parabola of your player, how the jump looks like. Okay, so to visualize you more how those updates look like, let's write time dot delta time. This function will show you time, how often the frame is called on my computer. So now if I press play, you can see here that the times for the update function, the calls, are different each time. Okay, so it's called once per frame. Let's say the frame updates here 500 times per second, about 500 times per second, with some deviations. Okay, if I will do the same for fixed update, you will see now that the updates for our fixed update are constant. You can see here that it's called every 0.2 of a second. Okay, so why this is important is that if you would this is important because if you would do physics calculation inside update, your game would behave different on each computer. So it would mean that if for example, in racing games, players would have different times when they're racing. Okay, if it would, or the car would behave different than on each computer. So to avoid that, you should always do the calculations, the physics calculations inside fixed update. And next very important function which I use is late update. This function is called at the end of the frame. So when you use update, the function is called on the start of the frame. Yeah, once per frame on the start of the frame. But the late update is called after the frame ends. Sometimes this might be useful when you are working on some animations and you are having some strange behaviors. Just remember that maybe you should use late update. Okay. Another one, very important for me, is to use on disable and on enable. On disable, on enable, and that's right. Okay, I will write debug logs to show you how it works. Okay. Now let's turn off some. Yeah, let's turn off the start debug log. Okay, and here, if I will press play now, and you can see here that my game object is enabled, I got the message enabled. If I turn it off, it's disabled. If I turn it on again, it's enabled. Yeah, it's disabled, enabled once again, disabled, and it will continue like that. This is very important function if you would like to do some checks, or if you would like to have the behaviors. It's like you should treat it like an event when, for example, your enemy should get active in some. So let's say your enemy is waiting in some place, or you have it hidden and you want it to be shown like spawn, but to be exactly, you are hiding it, your enemy, as disabled game object. Then you just enable it and you execute your function here when you enable the enemy. Okay, so that's the most important function I use. Also, very important function is on destroy, but that one I will explain you later. It's for you to know that this one exists. It's called when the game object is destroyed. So for example, if your enemy dies, you can write what should happen here. Okay, so that's the most important methods from behavior I use, and the most often used for me are the start, update, fixed update, and on destroy method. And you should focus on those methods. On the next episode, I will show you how to create your own method, and then we'll use some knowledge which we get until now to create some behaviors on our scripts. Okay, so thanks you for watching, and if you like the video, please don't forget to press the thumb up and to subscribe. Bye.